Hi there, this is Amy Daniels, Atlanta Area Council Kernel. Today, we will learn how to use the Trails End Leader Dashboard to run your 2024 popcorn fundraising season. You can access the Leader Dashboard by going to trails-end.com. From here, click on the icon of the person and select Scout or Unit Account. You can also access this same dashboard by going directly to portal.trails-end.com. Enter in your username and password and click on Sign In, or if you do not have a username and password, you'll go ahead after accepting the cookies and click on the Register Scout or Unit Leader. From here, enter in the appropriate information and continue on to your new account. Once in the Leader dashboard, we're going to click on Unit Information. It is best to set up your storefront settings prior to reserving any of your storefronts. From the left-hand side, you'll select your calculation method. Each of these methods have a small information icon to the right of them, which will provide you information as to how each one works and an example. Select the one that works best for your unit. Keep in mind that these selections should be set it and forget it, meaning once you've set it, all of your storefronts will use these settings. If you change it to a different setting partially through the sale or after you've already hosted some storefronts, all of your storefronts will change to the new setting. So it is best to set it and not change it once your sales have started. On the right-hand side, you should set up your default time zone, the length of your shifts, the number of scouts per shift, and your default release date. Once you have made these selections, any storefronts reserved after they have been set up and saved will then take on these defaults. Click on Save Default. Now, if you are a new kernel, there are other sections in here that you will need to set up as well, such as your unit team members. You may want to add additional team members to help you in the sale. Simply click the New Leader button, enter in the information about that new leader, and click Save. This will send them an email asking them to join your team, where they can then accept that invitation and will be added onto your team. All of your team members have the same access to your leader dashboard, so make sure that they are aware on how to use the dashboard before giving them access. You'll also want to go ahead and make sure that you fill out the Manage Unit W-9 information section and the Manage Unit bank account information as well. Now it is time to either set up or reserve storefronts. From the left-hand side, click on Storefront Reservation. On the Storefront Reservation page in the upper right-hand corner, you will see the number of storefronts you have already reserved, the number that you are available to reserve, how many are upcoming, and the date. In addition, you will notice that there are 3 tabs: Manage, Reserve, and Create New. For those storefronts that you have already reserved, you would click on Manage. For those that you would like to reserve that are Trails End, you will click on Reserve. And if you need to create a new one because it has not been created by Trails End, you would click on New. We're going to start by going to the Reserve section. On the Reserve section, you have a couple of options. You can filter your storefronts by date, district, or by searching for them by name. For example, if I were to go ahead and choose Foothills, I will see that there are 2 Kroger stores available. I will also notice that there are some stores that have a special designation, such as top seller or recommended. If you hover over the little information icon, you will see the information to explain what this designation means. I can then go ahead and I can look for a different district. For example, as if I chose Silver Comet, I will see that there are additional storefronts that are still available in that district. Now, if I'm looking for a specific date, I could add that information by selecting, for example, September 1st. I will see here that it'll show me that there are 4 storefronts available, and when I click on it, those 4 storefronts will be listed below. I can then review those storefronts to determine what address that they're located at, what district they're in, the date, the time, and so on and so forth. When I have chosen the ones that I would like, I go ahead and click on the Reserve button. For myself, I am using a training environment and I don't want to take one of the storefronts that is specific for users. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you this process using my corporate orders district. So in the corporate orders district, there are none available for September 1st. So I'm just going to go ahead and click clear all. And now you'll see that I have a bunch of training locations that I can choose. I'll go ahead and just click the reserve button on one of them. In this case, it's for August 24th. The reservation system will go ahead and tell me that it is trying to do the reservation. I'll go ahead and click OK to that. And now, if I slide back up to the top, click on Manage, I will then see as I slide down here that I do have one set up for August 24th. You'll also notice that this reservation took on all of the defaults that I previously set. For example, looking at the shifts, it created 3 separate shifts. The storefront is from 2 to 8 p.m., so it created shifts that are 2 hours in length. Number 1 is from 2 to 4, the second one is from 4 to 6, and the third one is from 6 to 8. You will also notice that it set it up for 2 individual scouts to be on each shift. And we can also take a look, if we go ahead and click the down arrow, we can see information about this particular site. Registration, for example, begins on August 6th because that is the date that I set up on my defaults. You can also, from this location, see other information about the sale, and you can update that information if necessary. We'll come back and look at these in just a little while. We're going to go now back to the reservation tab, and this time I'm going to select the Pickett Mills location, and I'm going to show you how you can search for a specific store, such as Sam's Club. I type in Sam, and now I will see only those storefronts that are named Sam's Club in the Pickett Mills district. Again, simply click on that reservation button, and then you can see those under Manage. You can also use the reserved processing and past buttons in the upper right-hand corner to continue to filter your information. We're going to go over to the Create New tab. From here, you can create reservations for storefronts that are not reserved by Trails End. Please note, if there is a location such as a Sam's Club, a Lowe's, a Kroger, those locations must be booked by Trails End. So if you do not see a specific date and time, it could be that that location is already reserved by another unit, or it could be that those storefront locations, like I said, a Kroger, may not have availability on those days. If you would like to check on it, please contact Trails End by submitting a ticket and asking for those dates and times. Do not, under any circumstances, contact the stores directly unless you are given approval by Trails End. We will lose our contract with those stores if we contact them directly. So it is of utmost importance that you reach out to Trails End for those locations. If you would like to reserve a storefront for a local cafe, we click on that Create New tab, select the date of your sale, and then set the date for your registration to begin. Also make sure that you set the time that you want your registration to start at and your time zone. The store name can either be selected using this list, or if you don't find the name of the store, you can type in the letter O and scroll down until you see the choice that says Other. From here, you can enter in the name of the location. So I'm going to type in Bob's Barber Shop. I will then go ahead and enter in the street address. Please make sure that you use the appropriate street address because this street address is automatically compared to other storefronts in the system and can then prevent 2 units from booking the same location at the same time and on the same date. So you'll select that location. If you give it a minute, it will automatically fill in the city, state, and postal code for you if you've selected it from the list. Then you can go ahead and type in any information as to who you reached out to confirm the storefront. If you've got contact information, go ahead, put that there. And then you can also put additional notes in here. Maybe you need to tell them to set up the table on the right-hand side of the door. Click Save. Now you'll see that I now have a new location that's been set up. Because this is not a Trails End booked one, I will need to go and add shifts. So I'll click this green Add Shift button. And then I will go in and I will set up the date and time for the first shift. You can either click on the numbers or you can click on the clock, depending on how you want to set it up. I'm going to say that the shift for this is going to start at 8:30. And then this particular one is going to end at 10 o'clock. I do have a default of 2 hours with 2 shifts. However, like I said, I'm going to just set it up from 8:30 until 10 and click Save. So that's my first shift. Now I can go ahead and add a second shift. It's going to go from 10 p.m. to 12. Here is an example of the message that you will get if your location overlaps with a Trails End booked site. So you would say okay, and then you'll need to fix that shift. So maybe I'm going to say my next one is going to go from 10 and I'll change this to be 11 p.m. and try again. And then I don't overlap. Okay. From here, there's a couple of other things that you can do. First of all, if we click the down arrow, we can see the storefront site information. So we'll see it's set up for today. Registration began earlier today at noon. The name is called Bob's Barbershop. The location is located there, and you can see who the contact is and the instructions. Any of this information can be changed simply by clicking on the Edit button, making your necessary changes, and then clicking Save. We can go into Shift Management either by clicking on Shift Management on the right-hand side, or you can click on the individual shifts here at the top. Both will take you to the same place. From here, you have the option to change the number of scouts that can be on a shift, and you can also add scouts to a shift by clicking on the arrow and then selecting the scout. Now, you can only select the scout and hit the plus sign if your reservation time has already passed. You will see that that scout has been signed up for the first shift. It's designated by filling in the icon of the person as a dark color, and the other one is still empty, showing that I only have one of 2 people on that shift. Let's go back to shift management. From the shift management section, I can also go ahead and delete a shift by clicking on the red trash can, or I can add a specific purchase using the picture of the shopping cart. We'll now go to the Manage Cash location. And the starting cash can be added, but it has to be added prior to any transactions happening on this storefront. So this is asking you how much money are you going to put in the cash box to start your unit off with. To do that, you'll click on Cash Adjustments and you'll enter in the amount of money. I'm going to do $75 and click Submit. If you've already got a transaction against this storefront, you cannot add starting cash. Even if you try to subtract it out and put it back in, it will not work. So you must do that first. So I'm going to go ahead and click Submit. You'll see that my starting cash will update. So there's my $75. Next, we're going to go look at inventory. You can see that my unit currently has some inventory on hand. So I want to go ahead and I'm going to send 12 salted caramels. I'm going to send 14 s'mores, and I'm going to send 12 cheddar popcorn. So you enter in your quantities, and then you have to select your transfer action. So they're going to come from my unit to my storefront. So I'm going to say from unit on all 3 of them. Then I will click the Adjust Transfer button and look in this upper right-hand corner to verify that I've got green boxes telling me that that inventory has been transferred correctly. Now, at this point, I like to use the reporting tab and click on Export Sales Report. This goes ahead and provides me with a document that I can print out. And when the person who's going to the storefront on the very first shift comes to my house to pick up the product, I have them count the starting cash, and then I have them review the numbers that show up in the remaining column here to verify that I have counted out the correct amount of inventory and assigned it to that storefront. Once they've done so, I will have them sign this and I keep a copy of it. If you realize that you made a mistake, you can come back into your inventory and make that adjustment. I wanted to do 12, 12, and 12. I realized I typed in 14 for s'mores. I'm going to go ahead and type in 2. And then I'm going to say that these are going to come from the storefront back to the unit. Click my Adjust Transfer button, and now you'll see that I have a confirmation in the green box. If I go to the reporting and rerun that sales report, now you'll see that my beginning totals still say 12, 14, and 12, but my remaining say 12, 12, and 12. And there is a record on the bottom here showing that we returned 2 of those s'mores by the popcorn trading leader. That's the person I'm logged in, and the date and time that I did it. So again, always have them review that remaining column to confirm what they are actually taking and also that cash on hand. At this point, we are going to assume that the storefront has taken place, and we are now going to do the reconciliation. The first thing that I do when I do a reconciliation is I go and count the physical product that has been returned. I note the amount of product returned for each individual item. In this case, 3 salted caramels were returned, 1 s'more was returned, and 5 white cheddar popcorns were returned. I will enter those numbers into the Trails End website. To do so, I will find my storefront, click on the down arrow, and click on Inventory. From here, I will enter those quantities: 3 salted caramels, 1 s'more, and 5 white cheddar. Then select my transfer action, which is going to go back to the unit for each one, and then click Adjust Transfer and look for the confirmation in the upper right-hand corner. As you can see, I have a discrepancy, as there is 1 white cheddar showing that it is still at the storefront, and I'm negative by a popping corn. In this scenario, I would need to go and make an adjustment to correct my inventory. Because both items are the same cost, I could merely do an adjustment by using the quantity fields. For example, 1, selecting that I'm going to do an adjustment, and then selecting that it was a transaction error. However, I want to show you how to fix a popcorn issue when the prices differ. So for this example, we're going to go and look at your orders. First, we want to find the order where the popping corn was purchased. So by clicking on View Orders, I then click on the order number and take a peek at what was purchased. In this case, the first one I selected was the popping corn. I will go ahead and close, and I will then take that particular order and I will click the refund button. Only orders that are purchased with payment of cash can be refunded and entered in correctly. If the payment method for this particular order was credit card, I would continue down the list until I find one that contains popping corn and is cash. Keep in mind, you do not have to have the only item on the order is popping corn, but you will need to adjust for both items if you do the refund, because it refunds the entire order. If your adults use the convert to cash at the storefront, you will not be able to make these adjustments to your cash orders. Once they have used that cash to credit, those orders will then look like they are credit card transactions. For my purposes, I'm going to go ahead and click Refund, confirm that I want to do the refund, and now when I go look at my inventory, you'll see that I have 0 popping corn and there is only 1 white cheddar left. So now, looking at my inventory, you can see that my popping corn inventory has been corrected, but my white cheddar is still incorrect. At this point, I'll simply click on Order, make a note that this is a correction, select the shift I'd like to apply it to, and then I will purchase one white cheddar with the $20 that was accidentally used to buy, in this case, popping corn. Click Record Sale, refresh my screen, and now you'll see that my white cheddar is down to 0. If I had any additional inventory left, I could use the Return All Inventory button. Typically, I would use that when I have heroes and helpers, since that number will be negative, but on this particular example, I do not have that. Now, what I do next is I use an Excel spreadsheet that I have created. On this Excel spreadsheet, I record the amount of money that was returned from my unit. The envelope that is returned to me will tell me how much money that they have returned. In this case, they have returned $852 to me. So I will go through all of the money and I will record by shift the number of bills that were returned. So for example, column C3, I entered 2. That means on the first shift, I received 2 $50 bills. I received 8 $20 bills, 15 $10 bills, and so on. I do the same thing for the second shift, and then I look at my totals, both in columns D8 and F8, also in I8 if I had 3 shifts, to make sure that the amount of money totals the envelopes that I have received back from my storefronts. The total amount of money in B16 should match the amount of money that I was told was returned from the storefront. I then take out the amount of money that I started with in my cash box. For my example, I had $75. After that, I will go back to Trail's End and I will look for the amount of cash sales that the system has recorded. Looking at my cash management section, I can see that the cash sales was $640. I will enter $640 into the blue box and click Enter. This tells me that after the money came back from the storefront, I took out my $75 starting cash. They recorded sales of $640, so the total amount of donations is $137. At this point, I would go and purchase popcorn or purchase heroes and helpers in that amount of money. If you want to do heroes and helpers, you would simply come back to Trail's End, click the Order button, slide down till you find heroes and helpers, enter in 137, select your shift, and record the sale. If you would like to instead purchase popcorn, so I will enter an order, click on the shift, enter in quantities to get as close to $137 as possible. I'm going to order 4 Unbelievable Butters, 1 white cheddar, and 1 kettle corn. This gets me to $135, and then I would go in and I would enter 2 heroes and helpers to equal $137 and record the sale. Once I have done this, my inventory is going to be off. If I go back to my inventory, you can now see that I'm off by those products. So I will go ahead and I'm going to have to transfer that inventory from my unit to my storefront. So I enter in 4, 1, and 1. And I will then go and say that I'm going to take it from the unit. By doing so and clicking on Adjust Transfer, my inventory at the site is now 0. I will take those particular items and I will go and put them into a separate area inside of my house, for example, and I will record on my spreadsheet what I exactly bought. So in this case, I said I bought 4 Unbelievable Butter, white cheddar, 1 kettle corn, and 2 Heroes and helpers. At this point, I'll go back to Trails End, look at that cash sales number, which is 777, and enter that here in C18. You will now see that in this scenario, the amount that is to be returned to my treasurer is $777. I then take my $75 and put it back in my cash box for the next sale. From here, I need to just finish off my Trails End account. So I will go back to Trails End. It says cash due from site is $852. So if everything tied out, I will go ahead, type in 852 and click submit. You will now see that the cash collected was the 852. There is no cash due from the site. I can go ahead and click on view history, and I can watch all of the ins and outs of everything that happened with regards to the cash transactions and download if necessary. At this point, I'm finished reconciling my storefront. I would then again segregate that popcorn that I purchased as donations, and I would get ready for my next storefront. You will see that I have renamed the tab from July 30th storefront to sample so that you can see this version. And I have also added a tab called template. After I finished the reconciliation, I would come in here and do a right click on template and select move or copy. I will then go ahead and click on sample 730 or whatever my last storefront is, and I want to put my sheet before that one. So it's going to end up between template and sample. Click on create copy and choose OK. This way my template file or my template tab always stays at the beginning of my sheet. I will right click on template 2, click on rename, and enter in the date and the location of my next storefront and click OK. From here, I then have a new tab to do my next reconciliation. Thank you so much for watching today. I'm hoping that this information was helpful. You can always reach out to Trails End at their support site, which is support.trails-end.com. Or if you are in the Atlanta area, you can reach out to myself, Amy Daniels. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful fundraising season.